Tattoo artists of Reddit. What is the most frocked up thing you've tattooed? A lady I used to work with had a teddy bear tattooed around her nipple so it looked like the bear's belly. She called it her titty bear. I knew a guy who lost some bet with another group of friends and he had to get a tattoo of Scrat from Ice Age on his inner thigh, reaching for his nuts. I was low-key kinda jealous of the idea lol. My artist said he tattooed a haunted house on some guy's ribs and the dude insisted on hiding digs everywhere on it. So the wrought iron fence had digs, the spire had digs, the chimney had smoke with swirls that concealed digs. Asked my first tattoo artist this question, super professional guy who has gotten awards for his work. But he said he did some dodgy tattoos in order to get his reputation started. One of those was a girl who was an aspiring porn star. He tattooed her butthole to be a more appealing pink color. A Mexican cartel hitman got a pretty detailed back tattoo of a pretty unique murder scene, and when he was arrested and processed for something else entirely, it was so unique and obvious that it was the particular murder in question with information that hadn't been made public that he was arrested and convicted for the murder. I knew a guy with the words, "fucking dumb," on his forehead. He was a fun dude. Guy wanted the thumbs up emoji on his taint. Apparently he wanted everyone down there to know he appreciates a job well done. I passed him off to a male colleague, who did not stop giggling the entire half-an-hour session. But as most artists on here have said, we get ridiculous requests all the time, but they either don't show up, or we have to ask them to leave. My friend asked this when he got his first tattoo. The tattoo artist said he had a totally sober girl come in and asked for the Come and Go logo tattooed right above her ass. The artist went through and ensured she understood everything the tattoo implied and that it was permanent. She still got it. I met a guy once who had a phrase in a foreign language on his arm. I asked him what it said and he replied, "Buy me a drink and I'll tell you." So I bought him a drink and asked again. It turns out it actually said, "Buy me a drink and I'll tell you." It apparently got him a lot of free drinks over the years. My tattoo guy tells a story of a woman who wanted sweet pea tattooed on her neck but insisted that it is spelled sweat pea. He declined. Nothing super weird and usually things I didn't feel comfortable putting on people. I would turn away. But I had a coworker who would scoop them up and do the tattoo for them. One was a girl who had just turned 18. She wanted a chain around her waist with a lock hanging on it just above her angina and the words, "Property of Dave," or whatever the frock her boyfriend's name was. First off, she was 18, so I figured the relationship probably wasn't going to last, so I wouldn't do it for that reason. Then come to find out, her boyfriend had just been sentenced to life in prison for murder. The girl was making a terrible emotional mistake. I refused, but my coworker did do the tattoo. Had a guy get a tattoo of his wife fingering her own ass, while she sat and watched me tattoo it on him. Interesting experience trying to get the shading on her labia just right while she was peering over my shoulder. 8 ball on a guy's testicle. A dog wearing a sweater on some dude's ass. I've met the guy that had party till impact tattooed on his eyelids while intoxicated. I think he later had it removed. Not a tattoo artist, but when I worked in the I got to see some wild ones. My personal favorite was a young lady who had a rainbow up her inner thigh and up to her angina. "Taste the rainbow" was written atop it. Honestly, I kind of loved it. The tattoo was supposed to say, "Georgia born, Alabama bred." Instead it says, "Alabama breed." The girl was proudly showing me her tat. I read it and asked, "What's it say?" She looked at me dumb and reads it off. I said, I thought bread had only one E. I think your tat says breed." She laughs and says, "No." The artist had drawn the design and when I looked at it, the artist had written bread, like a loaf of bread. I'm so glad I caught that. Can you imagine if I had bread on my arm? Ha ha ha. IDK girl. That might actually be better than breed. At least bread and bread are pronounced the same. I knew a guy that got rabbit prints on his ass cheek leading to his butthole. Want to see my new rabbit tattoo? Aw man, it must have jumped in his hole. My ex has a tattoo of a gravy boat sucking itself off. Not a tattoo artist but a piercer. I had a pretty standard practice of asking for ID before I did any consultation of minors. A lot of older siblings or whoever trying to pause as parent. Guy came in acting pretty weird, not awkward at all, just got that creep vibe. Took his and the girl's ID, and gave him the forms to fill out while I took a copy. He came to get his 16Y daughter's nipples pierced, and wanted to watch. Promptly turned him down. Gave CPS a call right after they left. In hindsight, it very well could have been human trafficking. But same names on the IDs and about the right age gap to be her parent, so I've got no idea. Obligatory, not a tattooer. I worked at a tattoo magazine in the later 90s, early 00s, when artists still mailed photos of their work in My favorite is the Pillsbury Doughboy banging Little Debbie, who is face down on a Hostess cupcake. I still have the photo. My friend's dad had a tattoo that covered his entire forearm of two pigs going at it doggy style. Piggy style? And it said, "Making bacon." Above it. He was made to cover it up every time we visited, but I saw it once and it's quite graphic. My friend had a guy come in wanting an ass tattoo. He had drawn up the artwork himself and wanted a sloth on his ass cheek done to look like it was coming out of his ass. The sloth was smiling, giving the thumbs up. Met a girl at a party once that had a tattoo across her entire chest of Mount Rushmore. But instead of the regular 4 presidents, they had faces of the 4 women from the TV show The Golden Girls, aka Betty White, on her chest. I worked with a guy who had a rooster hanging from a noose on his shin. He said it means his cock hangs below his knee. Well, I know someone who asked for a 90-year-old naked man tattooed on his ass. Not a tattoo artist, but some guy the first used to work with had a Tinkerbell tattoo. She was topless, in a schoolgirl skirt, with Confederate flag wings. Not a tattoo artist, but I asked the same question of the artist who did my half sleeve. Vegas of brass monkey tattoos. He told me the most frocked up tattoo he's seen was a man's tattoo of himself jerking off to a child version of himself tied to a chair. I never saw it, but a coworker told me his wife had a pair of boxing gloves with the phrase, "Hit it like a champ," in between them above her angina. I don't know why you'd tell people your wife had that tattoo. Know an artist, but many years ago, I had an exec chef that was the most tattooed man in town. Member of a local Mexican biker club, looked like a Mexican biker. Nicest guy, though. He had many tattoos. But his most extreme was a picture of a nun, in bondage gear, kneeling before a cross with menstrual blood gushing out from between her legs. She also had a pentagram carved onto her back. Except for one line. His tattoo artist refused to complete the pentacle, that was his limit. Bloody menstrual bondage nun was fine. But a pentagram was too far. Not a tattoo artist myself, but trained a bit. Asked a master what the weirdest thing he tattooed was, and he said, without hesitation, "A pair of eyes on me mate's balls." When I was getting tattooed, I asked my artist what his most frocked up tat was. And he told me a guy wanted Pinocchio on his crotch, with the penis as his nose. But he did it and said the customer seemed happy with it. Was at a bar once and there was a competition for the best tattoo. Free drinks to the winner. So this one guy drops his pants and shows the bar a tattoo of Elmer Fudd with rifle in hand on his ass cheek saying, "Come out wabbit." The bar cracks up laughing, but then the guy pulls open his butt cheek and there is another tattoo of Bugs Bunny climbing out of his hole. The place erupted. I don't think he bought another drink for the night. When I was 17 working at Dunkin' Donuts, there was this guy, Lou, in his 30s, who had a back piece with Pinhead and all his minions from the movie Hellraiser. Except that instead of Pinhead's face it was Lou's own face. If you're out there, Lou, good on ya. By far the most insane tattoo I've ever seen was at a swingers club in LA. This guy has a giant tattoo to make it look like a plushy stuffed animal off Tigger was sitting on his lap with his groin and Tigger's lined up perfectly. Then he had his impressively long schlong completely inked in alternating orange and black horizontal bands like it was his tail. To top it, his cockhead was tattooed white. Honestly, it was a work of art and one of the classiest Disney tattoos I've ever seen. My words are not serving it proper justice. Not an artist, but at a tattoo shop. I saw in an artist's book a tattoo he had done of the Pillsbury Doughboy pulling his arm out of a dripping angina with cum dripping off the arm. Couple. Totally crazy and wanted everyone to know it. The kind of couple who think they're 90s rock stars. Walk in leather clothes, no underwear, a bottle of tequila, and start frocking on the couch type people. Obviously they would be together forever. She wanted, and received, a tattoo of his face around her angina and pubic area with the mouth being in the middle, so I guess he could make out and frock his own face. They broke up. A guy the first knew growing up and his girlfriend got each other's names on their wrists. 18/19. They broke up. He decided to get it covered up, with a bullet. Of course the thick black outline of her name is clearly visible. So now he has a bullet with her name on it. Not a tattoo artist, but my cousin let a drunk friends who never tattooed before tattoo him a house on his rib. Like a child drawing. He done that because in French rib, cote, and coast, cote, are the same word, so now he can say, "J'ai une maison sur la côte." I have a house on the coast. Not me, but my old tattoo artist tattooed a Nazi rainbow unicorn on someone's ass. I'd link the picture, but I'd prefer not to have to search for it again. However, if you Google that, it should come up pretty quick. Had an older lady come in wanting a butterfly tattoo on her labia. Actually turned out really pretty. She loved it and was a pleasure to work with. Every time I do a butterfly tat now I think of her flaps. I had to have a polyp removed from my colon a few years back. When they removed it, they actually tattooed a marker inside my colon, so that spot would be easier to find and check in a colonoscopy. So while not a tattoo artist, I do have a tattoo up my ass. That qualifies as frocked up. I'm not an artist, but several years ago I was waiting in a shop in my hometown to do a consultation for a tribute to my late stepdad, and there was a woman doing a consultation with my artist right before me. This lady wanted to have Jeff's salute tattooed on her lower back. Apparently she'd been dating Jeff for like 3 months. The artist declined to create her masterpiece. She was visibly upset about it, which let me know that I was in good hands. I was at a concert years ago in Philly when this guy showed up with a tattoo of a woman that had some very poorly executed features, e.g. oddly crooked nose, teeth out of alignment, etc. My buddy says to me, if some tattoo guy screwed up a picture of my girlfriend that badly, I'd kick his ass. Well, about 10 minutes later this young lady shows up, and damn if she didn't look just like the tattoo. Edit. Thank you to all the kind Redditors showing me the love for this posting. I'm glad I was able to bring a bit of humor to People's Day. I knew an old man that had a tattoo of an eagle on his forearm that he got when he was in his 20s. For years he would get into fights with people calling him a racist and a Nazi, and he would fight because he would be offended. He didn't get why he was being targeted like that. No one told him until well into his adulthood that the eagle he tattooed on his arm looked exactly like the Nazi eagle. He never knew. He just really liked eagles. I was getting tattoo removal a few years back, and I asked the owner what the worst tattoo he removed was. It was an old bloke that wanted to go on a cruise ship with his missus, but she wouldn't let him until he removed the tattoos on both his feet. He had frock written dozens of times on each foot. In his younger years he got drunk and thought it was a good idea to let his mate practice with his new tattoo gun. Obligatory not a tattoo artist. I was at a concert once when a man approached me and my friends and asked, "You guys want to see a tattoo of a woman giving birth to an alien?" He lifted his shirt to reveal a full frontal view of a woman squatting and a xenomorph crawling its way out of her angina. Then he turned and displayed the reverse angle of the scene tattooed on the other side of his torso. Then he said some racist shit and we walked away. Buddy dated a girl that had all the Ninja Turtles jumping in attack mode out of her butthole. Preface. Not tattoo artist, sorry. A friend I rented with for a while was really big into tattoos. Got a couple of sleeves over the years, and due to this he always had tattoo magazines on the coffee table. These mags almost always had a couple of back pages of crap tattoos, and one became infamous in that house. The guy in the photo was given the nickname of friend's name, cousin, and the picture was cut out and up on the fridge for ages. The pic was a full frontal denude of an older dude with a full-size dwarven warrior tattoo that was done from this guy's knees to I guess the middle of his chest. The pièce de résistance of this giant tattoo was the guy's junk was lined up correctly with the tattoo. Battle axe, big beard and everything. Really detailed too, it was epic. My ex had the words, "Your name," tattooed on his dig, so he could tell girls in bars, "I have your name on my dig." Then he'd whip it out. Classy guy. My client wanted the name and birth date of his passed away child combined with the DEF CON logo. Both weren't very weird, but he had to have them combined, which made it weird lol. Not an artist myself, but my boyfriend is. He got his start tattooing his dad, who was a literal Nazi. My boyfriend did his back piece, which was an eagle with a swastika behind it. The eagle had a dig bulge. BCBF's dad wanted to be able to tell it was a man-eagle. My tattoo artist told me he tattooed a pair of wings on some dude's dink. Not me, but my cousin is a tattoo artist, and he had a woman that wanted cheetah print from her pubic area all the way through her butt crack. He tattooed this woman's perineum and his hole with cheetah print. Tasty. As is so common. Not an artist, but I've done a little time. The one that really sticks in my memory is a dude who I ended up watching on Suicide Watch for a couple weeks after he smoked aquarium cleaner, who has had "Kill Yo Self" inked in rainbow letters from side to side and chin to collarbones on his neck. Ricky, if you're in the free world these days. Ah, who am I kidding? He's still in. When I was about 20, I made a bet with the singer in my metal band that he couldn't shave his beard for a year, and if he made it the year I would get property of name redacted tattooed on my ass cheek. He made it about 3 months and then had to shave because he was basically a young Gandalf. So he has property of XIFDP tattooed on his left ass cheek. Edited some grammar. Crescent moon with a face matching the customer. Mustache and green eyes. Giving a mustache ride to a woman naked except for thigh-high boots meant to be the wife. I had to see this 60-year-old woman spread eagle naked to get the idea of the boots they wanted. His first tattoo. Not a tattoo artist, but I saw a guy getting the Pez logo tattooed on his dig. I saw a guy with a tat of Lisa frocking Bart with a strap on while Lenny watched on his shoulder when I was at the beach the other day, and I just thought, rad. On those 31 outrageous people with tattoos do they regret lol. Clickbait pages that were big online about 10 years ago. There was a photo of a chap who got a pair of glasses tattooed onto their face. I know facial tattoos are now a lot more popular than they were back then, but I'd be really interested in knowing what that chap is up to now, and whether the attention from the glasses tattoo has helped or held him back in his life in any way. Not a tattoo artist, but saw an American have Sister Frocker written in Hindi on his shoulder. The tattoo guy screwed him over. Obligatory, not an artist, but when I was getting my sleeve finished, another artist was doing a massive noose curling around this dude's neck and coiling down his chest. The artist talked him down to an outline rather than a full color piece, and they moved it down so it wouldn't show under a shirt. Dude was probably 19. I've struggled with mental health myself, and that always stuck with me as being frocked up. Not mine. I'm a recovering juggalo. And I remember years ago when some dumbass got Boondocks' face paint tattooed on his face. Went into this tattoo parlor in what used to be a leather bar, but had reopened as a regular old gay bar. I went in there just to pass some times while I waited on some friends to arrive. I walked in and sat quietly in the waiting room. The artist was busy with a client, and didn't really talk to me, which was fine. I opened his portfolio. I'd been thinking of adding some small stuff to a larger tat I already have. Inside I find a demon girl with big breasts and a 2-foot cock. Another demon girl with the back to the viewer, angling her wong back into her own ass. A very ugly, sexless, and formless demon with 2 anginas and 2 holes. And the kicker, a phoenix, made out of sperm. All of these I could only describe as crackhead tattoos. My dad had a tattoo of a tiger screwing a lady, which was based off of an old, like, Nokia phone old video of a CGI tiger screwing a lady while saying, "This is asterisk 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 great," akin to Tony the Tiger. Not sure why he thought that was appropriate to show me when I was like 10, but now I find Tony the Tiger hot. Thanks Dad. Imager. Com. A. FCHP 860. Not my story, but a tattoo shop near me had a drunk customer come in and wanted a free tattoo of anything the owner wanted. Guy tatted a flying dig on his thigh, and it cost his business thousands cuz everyone knew that as the shop where you said you wanted a tattoo and got a dig with wings. I have a friend who has a friend who has Cookie Monster smoking crack on the side of his face. I met a guy at a hostel in Australia. He was English, who was showing me his tattoos, including a pretty graphic one of a wolf raping a nun. He said he wanted the most frocked up tattoo he could think of. Not a tattoo artist, however. The worst, most frocked up tattoo I ever saw was on my ex. After hanging out a few times, we graduated to 6. As I get behind her, I'm stunned to see a very large tattoo on her back looking up at me. Noticing my lack of movement, she says, "Oh, that's my father's face tattooed onto the body of Saint Peregrine, the cancer saint. As you may have guessed, her father died of cancer. What you may not have guessed was that he died before she was born. There on out, we didn't do certain positions, as I felt super uncomfortable with her dead father's eyes looking at me." A girl I dated was working at a restaurant and said that a mom and daughter worked as servers there. And so the daughter ended up tattooing Nate's Fussy in her belt area. Her mom heard about it and freaked out, and apparently outbursted saying that Nate's not even your boyfriend. It's the guy that she was cheating on him with. My friend is an artist. He tattooed a jalapeno going into a angina on someone's hand. It says, "Jalapeno business." I'll see if I can find a picture. Not a tattoo artist, but an ex got a tattoo of an anime character wearing a Nazi uniform with the swastika armband. I realized at that moment I needed to get the frock out. Not an artist, but an old coworker of mine has a shoulder piece. A large one. That is a robot that is frocking a bent over fat chick. I've always wondered what his kids think about it. I don't think it's too frocked up, but it's the weirdest and funniest. A friend of my best friend wanted a tattoo right above her angina that says, "Lucky you." I probably wouldn't agree to tattoo that on anyone else, but we're on good terms and it was pretty funny. Not an artist, but my friend got a tattoo once after a party. All the planets in a row. Except, they are not in order. One is shooting lightning. There is one less than should be. Best of all, calling them circular is being polite. He doesn't even remember getting it. I had a one-night stand with a girl who was covered in home job tats. Before we banged, we played tic-tac-toe on her leg with a tattoo gun. Her idea, not mine. It was early in my career. Had a lady come in and wanted a crack added to an already existing heart tattoo she had on her chest. I asked her why she wanted the break in the heart. She lost her husband when the towers fell the 11th of September '01. I tattooed her on the 14th. I didn't charge her, expressed my sympathies, closed the door to my room and cried for an hour straight. I have thought about her every September for the last 20 years. So yeah, frocked up. I rescued a baby groundhog from a homeless Nazi skinhead who lived in the nearby state park. He had found the groundhog on the side of the road. The mother was dead. His intentions were mixed. Wanted the animal to be okay, but asked me to buy it off of him. So to wrap this up, I tattooed swastikas on his elbows for the animal. 30 plus YRS tattooing. Only Nazi tattoo I've ever done. Groundhog was named Norma. She was well cared for and healthy. About a year later she left to find a mate and lived happily by a local pond. Property of Richard. Above a prostitute's angina. I begged her just to do the name, but I was a broke apprentice and really needed the money. I didn't do this one, but another guy asked me to rework his huge Nazi chest piece. Not to cover it, improve it. I declined. Worked in studios for 26 years. Saw a very normal looking woman whose body was covered in tattoos of severed penises. She even had a necklace of them tattooed on her. Clown digs. Regular digs. Zombie digs, all kinds, and they covered her torso completely. That one tattoo I saw on this post years ago where someone got a child tattooed on their pelvic region so the vag lined up with hers so her boyfriend could, well, you know. Bowl of sit, including corn and flies, on a guy's forearm. He said, and I quote, "Sometimes life gives ya a bowl of sit, and you have to eat it." I have a tattoo of Reptar from Rugrats on my ass. Now PPL can't spank me, they have to respectfully high-five the Reptar LMAO. Not an artist, but I always chat to the guy who does mine about what else he's tattooed. His worst was probably Daddy's little salute, just above a woman's vulva. Last time this question or similar was asked on a Reddit, a tattoo artist chimed in to say he'd tattooed one ring to rule them all, in Elven script around a porn actress's sphincter. Before a woman receives radiation for breast cancer, they tattoo a small dot between her breasts, or where they used to be, to properly guide the radiation. It's about the size of a thin pointed Sharpie dot. I know that there are tattoo removal people who will erase them for free, but it's so small in comparison to the other cosmetic issues you have after a mastectomy, or reconstruction, that I kept mine. Not a tattoo artist but had an experience. I was at a Van Halen concert back in the day and I'm having a good time when right next to me appears the biggest biker you have ever seen, like imagine Arnold but like X2 beefy and taller. I was like, whoa man, but that's not what got me, so my eyes lock on his arm tattoo and oh swear to God, it was a heart with the word mom in the middle of it. So I tapped him to get his attention. I was like, hey man, did you lose a bet or something? And he laughed and said, nah man, I love my mom, at the top of his lungs. I'm not an artist but me and my friend each have half of heart-shaped. Best friends 5 ever. Lock it on our ass cheeks so when we stand close they fit. I'm 6'5", 250 and straight, he's 5'9", and super gay. We just like the idea. The outrageousness of it. Edit. Some words. I've asked this question once myself. The tattoo artist shrugged it off and said, the worst stories I have are all from clitoral hood piercings. She then handed me a pamphlet that's for people wanting one, and the list of fines for various bodily functions that have no right to show up for a piercing was insane. Jesus dying on the cross, getting a blowthrob from the devil as a large backpiece. Not a tattoo artist myself but I have 2 sleeves so I spend a lot of time in parlors. The artist said the guy who got the tattoo always smelled of booze when he came in. The whole situation sounds like a mess. Not a tattoo artist but I saw a Navy guy dealing blackjack during a shipboard casino night. He was wearing a union suit with the back flap unbuttoned. On his butt cheek was Yosemite Sam dressed as the devil shoveling coal into his hole with a pitchfork. The tip of the middle tine was definitely in the brown zone. They don't make enough alcohol for me to get tatted on my sphincter. Not a tattoo artist, and this one isn't that crazy but it's really memorable. Was at a concert and this wild-looking crusty wook walked up to me and we started chatting. He asked for some swills of my beer and we passed his joint back and forth, so we became quick friends. After a few minutes he asked if I wanted to see his favorite tattoo. Of course I did. So he turned around and put his hands behind his back like he was in handcuffs. And on the inside of his wrists he had fuck on the left and pigs on the right. We raged for hours in the sun that day. Legendary dude. Dunno why he picked me to hang out with that day, but goddamn did we hang. My tattoo shop owner, artist from South Korea, had a good one I asked about. A dude came into their old shop in Long Beach and wanted a daisy tattooed on their rectum. Once they brought in an HIV negative test, they did it too. Sounds like an incredibly uncomfortable healing process. Not an artist.
But I once saw a pic of a baby toddler loli thing tattooed on a woman's intimate part.
So it looked like the baby girl was spreading her legs. Like who TF does that? And who TF frocks that? Covered up a guy's ex-wife's name on his dig with a black rectangle. She did the original tattoo herself. Did a Westlife memorial tattoo when they broke up. We've got a regular elderly visitor who keeps asking for tattoos next to his anus. Not around but just like, nearby. Already had Peppa Pig and his niece's name when he came in to get a minion leaping out of his arsehole. We refuse service now because he makes us uncomfortable. Proper nonce energy. Keeps coming back asking for more butt stuff. Busiest ass I've ever seen. I tattooed a WWE logo in a kid's face. He was a YouTuber with a not-so-successful channel about wrestling. Mostly recaps. His name was Washable Marker. Not an artist, but my buddy got his first tattoo about 10 years ago when the whole vaping scene was really taking off. Back when there were competitions, people constantly putting out these super cool videos of them blowing rings and doing other smoke tricks with their vape. He got a sort of tattoo with 4 different vape symbols. Stuff like the Ohm symbol, with the symbols separated by a thin X. It's a fairly large tattoo as well. He regretted it almost instantly. But here we are 10 years later and he still hasn't bothered covering it up despite having plenty of time and money to do so. It gives me a good chuckle every time I see it. LMAO. No idea what his train of thought was when he got that tattoo done.